Welcome to Medieval Tales. Before we dive into today's eye-opening story, drop a comment below and tell us which city are you watching from and what time is it there right now. The honey in your cupboard is hiding a disturbing secret. For thousands of years, honey was revered as liquid gold, a powerful remedy and preservative so potent that 3,000-year-old honey discovered in Egyptian tombs remained perfectly edible. In the Middle Ages, surgeons applied honey to open wounds and watched infections vanish that would otherwise prove fatal. Monasteries built their entire medical systems around honey. Vikings carried it on months-long sea voyages because it never spoiled. But today, when you buy a jar from the supermarket, your body often responds with blood sugar spikes, inflammation, and an immune reaction that treats this sweet substance like an invader instead of a healer. What changed? The honey itself. Modern honey is no longer true honey. It's an industrially processed sugar product, stripped of everything that made it medicinal. What medieval beekeepers did instinctively right, we've completely ruined in the pursuit of efficiency and profit. In 1983, researchers at the University of Waikato in New Zealand conducted a groundbreaking study. They compared the antibacterial power of commercial supermarket honey against honey from traditional, unheated beehives managed with medieval-style methods. The commercial honey displayed little to no antibacterial activity. The traditional honey destroyed multi-drug-resistant Staphylococcus bacteria that modern antibiotics couldn't touch. The effect was so profound that hospitals began using specialized medical-grade honey for wound care. But this medical honey isn't what you find on store shelves. It comes from bees foraging on specific plants, is cold-extracted, never heated, and costs 10 times more than regular honey. Medieval honey was medical-grade in every jar, simply because beekeepers didn't know how to damage it. Before we go deeper, leave a comment. Do you eat honey regularly? And if so, have you ever noticed it makes you tired, causes heartburn, or leaves you feeling hungrier afterward? Share below. This will explain why your body treats modern honey like poison. The first and most critical difference starts with the bees themselves. Medieval bee colonies were wild or semi-wild. They lived in hollow trees, straw skeps, or simple wooden boxes without removable frames. The bees decided where to build combs, how large the cells should be, and when to swarm. The beekeeper barely interfered. He set up the hive, protected it from bears and thieves, and harvested a portion of the combs once a year in late summer. That's it. The bees followed their natural instincts. Modern beekeeping is the complete opposite. Bees are confined to standardized frames with pre-stamped wax foundations that dictate cell size. Queens are often artificially inseminated with selected drone sperm to breed for traits like gentleness, high yield, or disease resistance. This selective breeding has drastically narrowed genetic diversity. Medieval bees were tough, aggressive, and genetically varied. They survived harsh winters unaided. Today's bred bees often perish without sugar-feeding, medications, and constant human intervention. Then there's the bee's diet. Medieval bees foraged on whatever bloomed naturally in their surroundings: wildflowers, herbs, trees, shrubs. A single hive in a German forest might gather nectar from over 200 plant species: linden, willow, blackberry, clover, thyme, lavender, fruit trees. Each plant added unique enzymes, pollen, essential oils, and phytochemicals. The resulting honey was extraordinarily complex. Hundreds of bioactive compounds, flavonoids, phenolic acids, and enzymes like glucose oxidase that generates hydrogen peroxide, a natural antiseptic. This honey was truly alive. Modern bees are frequently placed on monoculture crops: rapeseed, sunflowers, acacia. Hives are trucked to vast fields of identical plants. The bees collect from one dominant source, producing chemically simple honey, high in sugar but lacking phytochemical diversity and healing properties. Worse, many commercial beekeepers feed bees sugar syrup, especially in winter or after over-harvesting leaves colonies short. Syrup is cheaper than honey, so beekeepers extract maximum honey and replace it with industrial sugar. Bees store this mixture in combs, blending it with any real nectar. What you buy is often part real honey, part processed sugar the bees never evolved to handle. Medieval beekeepers always left ample honey for the bees' winter survival. They understood bees needed their own honey to stay healthy. Modern practices prioritize maximum harvest, substituting the cheapest alternative. Now comes processing, the most disturbing part. Medieval honey was harvested simply. Combs were cut out, placed in cloth over a bowl to drip at room temperature, or gently crushed by hand and pressed through linen. No heat, no machines. Honey flowed cold, filtered coarsely through fabric that caught wax chunks and dead bees, but let pollen, propolis, and all bioactives pass. This honey was cloudy, thick, often flecked with fine wax. It crystallized within weeks or months depending on nectar source, and crystallization was celebrated as proof of authenticity, signaling natural high glucose content. Modern honey undergoes an industrial pipeline that transforms it entirely. First, centrifugation. Combs spun at high speed to extract honey. That step alone isn't destructive. The damage follows. Honey is heated to 60–80 degrees C to thin it for faster flow through pipes and filters. Prevent crystallization. Consumers dislike spoiled, crystallized honey and kill yeasts that might ferment it. But this heat obliterates honey's value. Enzymes like diastase and invertase deactivate above 40 degrees C. Glucose oxidase, the source of antibacterial hydrogen peroxide, dies at 50 degrees C. Vitamins especially, complex and C break down. Antioxidants like flavonoids lose potency. What's left is essentially dead sugar, fructose and glucose, intact chemically but biologically inert. Then ultra-filtration, heated honey forced through microscopic filters, removing wax, bee parts, and pollen. Why strip pollen? It reveals geographic origin. Pollen analysis identifies country, region, even valley. The industry avoids this because much commercial honey is adulterated. Chinese honey lacks standards, rerouted through third countries, relabeled as premium or real honey diluted with rice corn syrup or synthetic invert sugar. These frauds are hard to detect chemically but exposed instantly by pollen. So pollen goes. Yet pollen is among honey's most nutrient-dense elements. Proteins, amino acids, B vitamins, minerals, immune-modulating compounds. Honey without pollen is like bread without grain. Looks similar, lacks substance. Storage compounds the loss. Medieval honey matured in clay pots or wooden barrels sealed with wax or bladders. Slightly porous for minimal gas exchange, blocking moisture. Enzymes continued working, flavors deepened, complexity grew like fine wine. Modern honey sits in plastic tubs or metal drums, often months in warm warehouses. Plastic leaches chemicals like bisphenol are hormonal disruptors. Metal reacts with honey's acids, altering taste. Already damaged by heat and filtration, it doesn't mature, only degrades, losing aroma and residual actives. Health impacts are profound. Medieval honey had a low glycemic index, not from less sugar, but because enzymes, proteins, and pollen slowed absorption. A spoonful raised blood sugar gradually. Glucose oxidase released steady hydrogen peroxide, killing mouth, throat bacteria. Flavonoids reduced inflammation. Trace propolis boosted immunity. Medieval skeletons show far lower tooth decay in honey-sweetened populations versus later cane sugar eras. Honey didn't just avoid harming teeth, it protected them. Modern honey acts like table sugar, rapid blood glucose surge, insulin spike, crash leaving you tired and hungry. No antibacterial or anti-inflammatory benefits, no enzymes. Empty calories masquerading as natural, plus contamination, pesticides, herbicides, antibiotics from commercial hives. Tests find glyphosate, gut microbiome destroyer, in over 70% of European commercial samples. You think you're eating healthy, you're ingesting slow poison. Another overlooked aspect, medieval honey was local and seasonal. Southern German villages enjoyed linden honey in June, soothing for colds, forest honey in July, stronger for digestion, heather in August, antiseptic for wounds. Each variety tasted unique, offered specific benefits, knowledge passed generationally. Today, blossom honey, vague label for blended global sources, standardized for uniform pleasant taste, no origin tie, no seasonal depth, no traditional wisdom, just industrial sameness. Science backs it. A 2009 Technical University of Dresden Stew. DY analyzed medieval monastery honey recipes versus modern products. Medieval descriptions noted over 300 aroma compounds. Supermarket honeys showed 40 to 60%. These compounds aren't mere flavor, they're bioactive, interacting with receptors, digestion, immunity. Complex honey triggers coordinated beneficial responses. Simple honey registers as plain sugar. Sustainability suffers too. Medieval beekeeping was extensive, 5 to 20 hives scattered widely. Bees foraged 3 to 5 kilometer radii on pristine, pesticide-free diverse landscapes with minimal overlap. Modest harvests, 10-20 kg per hive, half taken, rest left for bees. Modern, intensive. Thousands of hives crowded, competing for resources, spreading disease, stressed. Breeding and feeding push 40-60 kg yields, but colonies weaken, succumb to illness, often die winter. Not sustainable, exploitative. Colony collapse disorder. Since the 2000s, workers vanish, hives empty. Causes multifaceted: pesticides, varroa mites, viruses, transport stress, intensive practices. Rarely highlighted, modern bees are genetically weakened, nutritionally starved, fed poor honey, syrup, foraging contaminated monocultures, gut microbiomes wrecked by antibiotics. Medieval bees faced none of this. Wild, diverse genetics, clean, varied food, thrived centuries unaided. Mass die-offs aren't natural, they're consequences of our methods. If you want real honey that heals instead of harms, choose consciously. Buy raw, cold-extracted honey from local beekeepers using wildflower meadows, not monocultures. Ask, do bees winter on their own honey or sugar syrup? Has it been heated? Real raw honey crystallizes. If it stays liquid months, it's processed. Seek pollen-rich, hold jar to light. Visible particles, pollen wax, are good signs of minimal filtering. Taste complexity, layers of floral resinous, sometimes bitter tart notes. Pure sweetness alone means it's lifeless. Or go further, keep bees yourself. Medieval style is simple: straw skep or basic wooden box, inexpensive. Let bees build freely, minimal intervention. Harvest surplus late summer, cut combs, drain room temperature, jar it. Yield maybe 5-10 kg yearly, but far more potent than store-bought. You'll grasp what we've lost. That medieval farmer with his skep and cloudy thick honey wasn't primitive. He produced a substance used as currency, a medicine healing antibiotic-resistant wounds, a preservative safeguarding meat, fruit, even bodies for centuries. Texts describe honey preserving fallen warriors for transport home. Alexander the Great was reportedly embalmed in it. That's real honey's power. The modern industry sacrificed it all for profit, speed, uniformity. You pay with inflammation, blood sugar chaos, weakened immunity. If this resonates, like and subscribe. We're unearthing truths. The food industry buries. The medieval beekeeper wasn't backward. He crafted living gold, perfected over millennia. We traded it for industrial shortcuts. The secret wasn't lost, just forgotten. Choose. Real honey, reclaim that ancient wisdom. Wisdom that healed when medicine was scarce. Wisdom that still works today. Subscribe, and let's keep digging.